Hi everyone, welcome to a new devlog. In this episode, we'll see how I have added cutscenes that can be reused by different characters, the first version of the AI for the enemy, and on the other hand, a little bit of experimentation with my Black Adam character in the Advanced Locomotion System in UE5. So let's get started. Inspired by Last of Us and other video games that use a similar technique, I wanted to be able to use cutscenes for when the enemy kills us, or we do executions, takeovers, etc. In UE5, we can use the sequencer, which is an amazing tool. A bit confusing to use at first, but now that I'm understanding better how it works, I'm starting to get more out of it. In my open world game, I spawn enemies, and they have different aesthetic alterations to give them more variety. So the original idea of using only one enemy in the timeline wasn't going to work for me. I had to find a solution that would allow me to use the same enemy that attacks the player, not a generic instance. The solution I have found is the following. I have created a sequencer with a timeline where I have a camera and an instance of the player. I use an instance of the player because the camera is animated and the focus varies depending on the shot. So having a real object in the timeline helps me to match the shot and the focus. And on the other hand, an instance without functionality avoids any potential issues with the player blueprint. When the enemy does the special attack, I spawn the timeline at the enemy's location and move the player in the exact position so the enemy and player animations are synchronized. This technique is based on a tutorial by Atomic Show, where he reuses sequencers through different levels. A little link below in case you are interested. To hide that I'm modifying the position of the player and other synchronization flaws, I make an aggressive change of the camera's point of view. This is a trick that was explained in the making of Last of Us, and I found it very useful and very simple. I'll leave the link below if you want to take a look. As you can see in the timeline, there is only the animation of the player and the camera. The animation of the enemy is a montage that I play from its blueprint. This is what allows me to recycle the sequencer and use it with different enemies. The result is good enough for a prototype. Once the final meshes, visual effects and sounds are added, it will be much better and the flaws will be even less noticeable. On the other hand, I have been rewriting the enemy's AI from scratch. The idea is to develop the simplest behaviors and add small variations to fake a smarter AI. At the moment, we have the enemy picking random points in the nav mesh. If we enter the area, the focus is on us, he equips his weapons, chases us, and tries to attack. When we leave, the focus is set to nothing, he unequips his weapons and goes back to random patrolling. This behavior is based on a tutorial by Paulo Souza, where he explains in a very basic way how to use behavior trees and the environment query system. It's a 26 minutes tutorial packed with very useful information. I'll leave the link below in case you are interested. I will be adding more attacks, blocks and rolls this week, so I can have a basic combat system very soon. Finally, and although it has nothing to do with my game, but it's still related to game dev, I wanted to show you my last 3D character. The character is a likeness inspired by The Rock in his role as Black Adam. I modeled and sculpted him in Blender and textured him in Substance Painter. The character is under 80,000 polygons and game ready. The character took me about 3 weeks from start to finish, so when it was done, I decided to take it to the Advanced Locomotion System in UE5 to see how it looked in game. I used the Auto Rig Pro add-on to make the character compatible with the UE4 mannequin. Once I had the armature, I modified the position of the bones to be as close as possible to the Animan ones. Because although the Animan and mannequin skeletons have the same bones, their poses are different. So the closer the armature pose is to the Animan pose, the better the animations will look in the end. And once I had the rig finished, I was ready to take it to UE5. Here is the result. I hope you like it. And that was all. As always, thank you very much for watching and have a great week.